Welcome to the past HSC exam question videos. While doing this video, I'll cover the past HSC exam questions from the last context point, the 7th context point of the social health module. There's only 4 questions in that context point, but again, only because there's 4 questions doesn't mean that these questions, these dot points are important, because there's so many more short answer questions. So not many multiple choice, but lots of short answer questions for these context dot points in this context point. So definitely know the content of these dot points, because they get examined in short answer questions mostly. But they are for multiple choice from a period of 2001 to 2011. I'll cover those now. So while doing the second, I'll read the actual question. Once I've read the question, about 5 seconds to pause the video. Once you pause the video, attempt the question, and then press ready when you play. Press play when you're ready. Alright, so the actual question is, overseas equestrian competitors brought their horses to Australia for the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games. Why were the horses quarantined for a period of time before the Olympic Games began? A. To acclimatize them to Australian conditions. B. To make sure that no horse disease spread to spectators. C. To make sure that the horses did not contract Australian diseases. Or D. To make sure the horses did not have an infectious disease. Next is the Willamette pine, Willamette nibilius, is easily killed by the fungus Pytheria, which lives in soil. The last small population of Willamette pines grown in a remote part of a national park in New South Wales. Scientists studying this natural population use strategies to prevent the trees from becoming infected with Pytheria. Which procedures would be most effective in preventing the spread of this fungus to the Willamette pines? A. Inspecting soil samples in the area. B. Commercially producing and distributing the Willamette pine. C. Washing soils from the scientists' shoes before they walk in the area. Or D. Prevent the importation of the infected Willamette pines into Australia. So when you're ready, pause the video and attempt the question. Welcome back. Right, so in this case, the reason why the first one was D, and then the last one was C. The reason why D is correct is because we have quarantine to make sure we can see if any animal has an infectious disease, and that would means that they stay there for 2, 3, 4 weeks. By the time they're done, they will definitely have no infectious disease. If they are shown to have an infectious disease, either they're kept there until they're fully healed, or they're not allowed to enter the country. The other ones are not correct. To make sure that no horse disease spread to spectators isn't really the reason, right? It's to make sure that the horse itself doesn't have an infectious disease to begin with. That's why. If it has an infectious disease, it's often not allowed to come, so it just doesn't get in. And the next one was actually C. Some of you might have said D. The reason why D is incorrect is because the actual bacteria is in the soil. It can be found in the soil. Just by preventing it from going to the Willamette pines into Australia. So just if we prevent the trees from coming to Australia, doesn't mean that the soil isn't there that might have the actual bacteria in it. And A is also incorrect because this question is actually kind of badly worded, I think, but the reason why A is incorrect is because just because the soil there in that area might not be infected, which is obviously enough because the Willamette pines aren't infected. But if you have the scientists that come from somewhere else that have that other soil on their actual shoes, and they go into that area, they can still infect it, even if the soil around it is safe. If the shoe on the soils, if the soil on the shoes of the scientists is all dirty and all infected, then they can still spread it, right? So by just inspecting the soil in the area, it's not enough. You need to make sure the scientists wash their actual shoes properly before they walk in the area. Because it also says that it's a very remote area, which means they're probably the only people that will actually go there, right? So they're the most important people in terms of spreading that disease. And they need to wash their shoes properly before they get into the area. So C is correct. And D and A aren't bad, they're not bad, but it says the most effective strategies. So C would be the most effective, whilst A and D would be effective, but not the most effective of all of these. Right, so next one is, which of the following is an example of quarantine used to control the spread of disease across regions of Australia? A. Killing weeds in infested forests using herbicides and direct removal. B. Sterilization of all food products that come from overseas. C. Sterilization of all food products before packaging. D. Removal of food from cars traveling interstate. And the next one is, the potential for disease to spread through animal population in intensive farming is heightened because the animals are kept close together. A disease has been identified in animals in one enclosure on a farm. Which procedure would be best to prevent the spread of disease to animals and other enclosures on the farm? A. Isolate diseased animals from healthy animals, then vaccinate all healthy animals. B. Vaccinate all animals so healthy animals cannot develop the disease and spread it further. C. Move the diseased animals into another enclosure to quarantine them from the healthy animals. Or D. Wash all animals with antiseptic solution so that the pathogen causing disease cannot spread from diseased animals to healthy animals. So when you're ready, pause the video and attempt the question. Welcome back. In this case, the top answer is D and the bottom answer is A. The reason why D is correct is because if you read the question, it says used to control the spread of disease across regions of Australia, right? Not across countries or different from Australia into Australia, but across regions. So sterilization from coming from overseas, that's not right because we're talking about regions, not from overseas. And D is correct because remember the actual fruit fly. So areas that are infested with fruit flies, the fruit aren't allowed to leave that area, so they have to be put in a bin before people leave that area, because if actual fruit might be infested with whatever it's on that fruit. And that means that's a form of quarantine. It's interstate, so if this is, let's say, Queensland, and this is New South Wales, there'd be these bins there, and any food that any person who wants to travel from Queensland to New South Wales that lives in that infected area has to remove their actual oranges or whatever it is before they enter New South Wales. It's a form of cross-region quarantine. So D is correct. And the reason why A is correct is because, well, C sounds good, right? We quarantine animals, that's true. And B sounds good, we vaccinate animals. Basically, A is quarantine and vaccinate. So isolate and vaccinate. That's the best option of all of those. Because again, it says which is the most effective way of doing it. Would be best. So A is best because it does both quarantine and vaccinate. Whereas B only does vaccinate and C only does quarantine. And D is just nonsense, right? So A is correct. But hopefully that was useful.